Hello friends, let us start with the last lecture of debentures. This is going to be our last lecture on debentures before we move on to redemption of debentures. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about interest on debentures. See, in the very first lecture I told you that all the terms and conditions related to repayment of principal plus the payment of interest are determined at the time of issue of debentures, plus interest is chargeable at a rate which is predetermined, right? This is what we discussed in the initial lecture, right? Now we are going to discuss the accounting treatment, the journal entry for this, right? See, this interest can be payable quarterly, or half yearly. That is, after every 6 months the interest is payable, or yearly. Mostly it is these three cases how the interest is payable, either quarterly or half yearly or yearly. It can be in any other way as per the terms and conditions set. It can be monthly, it can be weekly, anything, right? Normally it is either quarterly, half yearly and yearly. Clear? Now the journal entries. These journal entries will be passed on the date when the interest is due, interest is payable, and when the interest is paid. Clear? When the interest is payable after half yearly, after 6 months, or after 3 months, quarterly, or after a year. So whenever the interest is due, we will pass these entries at that time. Clear? What will be the entry? The first entry will be the amount of interest that is due. The first entry is for interest due, right? Entry will be debenture interest account debit, because it is an expense. And to whom it is payable? To debenture holders account. Clear? Debenture interest account debit to debenture holders account. Now friends, sometimes what happens is, when you have to make a payment to a person, you deduct a tax that is known as tax deduction at source, TDS, right? TDS is what? It is just for your information, right? TDS is deducted on the payment that is to be made. TDS is deducted at a specified rate. There are various sections in the income tax, and according to those sections the TDS is to be deducted on the various services. Like there is a TDS of 10% on professional services, right? So what that mean? Whenever you are making a payment to a professional, you will have to deduct 10% tax from that payment. You have to deposit that tax with the government, right? Suppose this is you hired an architect to design your house, right? You hired an architect to design your house. Now for that you have to pay him 1 lakh rupees as fees, as professional fees, as professional fees. Now what you will do, you will not pay him 1 lakh rupees. Out on 1 lakh rupees, you will deduct a TDS at the rate of 10% as per Income Tax Act. That means you will deduct 10,000 and you will pay architect only 90,000. This 10,000 you will deposit with government. Right? Now you might say it is a loss to the architect because the contract was for 1 lakh but he is getting 90,000. 10,000 is going to government as a tax. But architect will never be at a loss. He will get his 1 lakh rupees because he will get the refund of this 10,000 rupees that is deposited by you. You deposit 10,000 rupees on behalf of architect with the government and government will give 10,000 rupees to architect. So architect will get his 1 lakh rupees. Right? So this is the concept of TDS. The same concept applies in case of debenture interest also. Whatever the amount is payable to the debenture holders, on that sometimes you have to deduct TDS payable account, right? Now if 100 rupees is the interest, 10 rupees is TDS payable, TDS will be 10, and what will go to debenture holders? 90 rupees. But it is not a loss to the debenture holders because debenture holders will get this 10 rupees from government. They will not get this 10 rupees from you. They will get 10 rupees from government. You will pay them 90 rupees, 10 rupees which you have deposited with government as TDS. The government will pay them 10 rupees. Clear? So this is the concept of TDS, tax deduction at source. Clear? This is if you read income tax in future, if you want to do a chartered accountancy, if you read income tax, this TDS is a very wide concept. Right? I've just given you the overview of what is TDS, how it works. Otherwise, this is a very wide concept. You have a number of sections in this. Section 192, 194, A, C, J, H, I. So this is a very wide concept. Right? Okay. Now this is the entry for interest due. Debenture interest due 100 rupees. To debenture holders, we have to pay 90, and TDS payable, that is this TDS we are going to deposit with the government, 10 rupees. Debenture holders will get this 10 rupees from government, right? Now when the payment is made, what is the journal entry? Payment made to debenture holders first. For that I will say debenture holders account debit to cash or bank account. This is 90 rupees. And you have paid the TDS also. So TDS payable account debit to bank account 10 rupees. Clear? So these are the journal entries related to interest. First is interest due. For that we will identify how much is payable to debenture holders and how much TDS we have to deduct. There is a possibility that there is no TDS deductible. The amount is, there are threshold limits given in the TDS. That if you are making a payment of 20,000 to a professional, you don't have to deduct a TDS. Right? So if your interest amount is set below 20,000, you will not deduct TDS. That in your case, it will always be specified in the question. Right? I'm just giving it for your knowledge. Right? That in question, they might ask you for TDS or they might not ask you for TDS. Clear? So when the interest is paid, debenture holders to cash or bank, and then TDS payable to bank. This will go to debenture holders, and 10 rupees will go to Government of India as tax on behalf of debenture holders, and Government of India will pay this amount of 10 rupees to debenture holders. Right? How they pay is not at this level important for you at this level. It is not important. Right? It is all about the income tax. So it is not relevant at your part. Clear? Now, so let us see a practical problem on this. This is a very easy concept, right? Now, before the practical concept, we have to write down few important notes. Write down. Interest on debentures. Interest on debentures is always calculated on face value of debentures. Right? So if you are issuing the debentures at a discount, the interest will be calculated on face value and not the discounted value. Clear? Second, interest on debentures is a charge against profit Now, can you tell me this term charge against profit? What does it mean? That is, it has to be paid whether you earn profits or not. Right? It means whether you are earning the profits in a particular year or not, you will have to pay interest on debentures. Whether you pay out of your personal pocket, you will have to pay interest on debentures. Whether you are earning profits or not. That means it is a charge against profit. Charge against profit means you will have to pay an expense whether you are earning profits or not. Clear? Clear, friends? Now, if you have any accrued interest means interest due but not paid. Interest due but not paid. In case of interest due, this amount of accrued interest will be shown under the subhead of current liabilities. In equity and liabilities, under the subhead current liabilities as other current liabilities. This other current liabilities you will show in notes to accounts, the details of this. Clear? So this is about accrued interest, that is due but not paid. Right? This is accrued interest. Now let us do a practical problem on this. SKS Limited issued 1 lakh 8% debentures of rupees 10 each at 12 on 1st April 2015. The issue was fully subscribed. In terms of the issue of debentures, interest was payable yearly at the end of the financial year. Interest and TDS were paid on 31st of March 2016. TDS was deducted on interest at the rate of 10%. Pass the journal entries for the above transaction. First of all, we will pass the journal entry for issue of shares. Issue of debentures. 1 lakh 8% debentures of 10 each are issued at a premium of 2 rupees, that is at 12 rupees on 1st April 2015. So our first entry will be on 1st April 2015 for the issue of debentures. I'll say bank account debit to debenture application account. How much? 1 lakh shares. On 1 lakh shares you have received 12 rupees. That is 12 lakh you have received as debenture application. Now when you allot, you will say debenture application account debit to 8% debentures, right? And to securities premium reserve account, right? 12 lakh, and debentures will always be credited with face value. Face value is 10 lakh rupees. So 2 lakh is the premium that will be kept in a separate pocket known as securities premium reserve account, right? Now see the question. They say interest is payable yearly, that is at the end of the financial year, that is on 31st of March 2016, and interest and TDS were paid. TDS was deducted on interest at the rate of 10%. Now first of all, tell me what is the amount of interest. Interest is to be calculated on face value. Face value is 1 lakh shares multiplied by 10, that is 10 lakh rupees. On 10 lakh rupees, 8%, 80,000. So we'll pass the next entry at the end of the financial year, that is 31st of March 2016. For debenture interest. Debenture interest account debit. Now what is this amount? On the face value, that is 10 lakh at the rate of 8%. This comes to 80,000 rupees, right? To debenture holders account and to TDS account, TDS payable. Now what is the amount of TDS payable? TDS payable is 10% of this debenture interest, that is 8,000 rupees. So 72,000 you will pay to the debenture holders, and 8,000 you will deduct TDS and pay this tax to the government. Government will pay 8,000 to debenture holders. Clear? Now they say the amount is paid. So when you are making the payment, it will be debenture holders account debit to bank account 72,000 and TDS payable account debit to bank account 8,000. Clear? So this is how you deal with interest on debentures. First, the entry is for due of interest, interest due, then interest paid. The only concept that was important was TDS payable. And always remember one thing, interest is to be calculated on the face value of debentures. This is very important, right? That interest is calculated at face value of debentures. Clear? So friends, this is all about interest on debentures, and with this we wrap up the topic of issue of debentures, right? So if you have any queries related to this, just send me an email at ksjteaching @gmail.com, right? And in the next lecture we are going to start with redemption. The next lecture we are going to start with redemption of debentures. This is again a very important topic, right? A bit technical but easy one. Okay, so that's all for this lecture, friends. Thank you so much.